Hello YouTube, I hope you are doing well. Welcome to week 6 of the spring holiday cut. How's things? I'm actually going to make an attempt to do this video all in one take. So this is probably going to go either very, very well or very, very bad. But I want it to be unedited waffle, unedited long form conversation between me and you only. I'm the only one talking because you're on the other side of the screen. Without further ado, you've probably seen the title of the video, why I think you should get lean and go on a diet at least once in your life, and what is valuable about that process, right? And I think if I just talk, it's probably going to be, the most authentic message and what I think about it, right? It's not edited. I haven't actually thought necessarily all that much about what I want to say. There's a few things, but yeah, obviously, as you guys know, or you might not know if you only start watching this video, but there's a series of videos called the Spring Holiday Cut, right? As I am dieting down, I've got a holiday the start of June, going to Spain, and yeah, I just wanted to showcase as well as I could what can be achieved in 12 weeks if someone was to really set their mind to it. And I'm going to preface this by saying that there is nothing inherently special about me, there's nothing inherently great about me, right? There's some things great, I'm sure, but there's also many things that aren't so great and many things that I'm not good at. I'm basically trying to say that I am a very average person who has over time got the experience, the knowledge to, I know a thing or two about getting in good shape, right? And I would have probably overlaid a little posing outside footage in the anabolic sunlight that I did a few days ago, and I would have done that over there and you will have seen that at some point. So I'm in okay shape, right? I still have 5 weeks to go, 6 weeks to go in terms of the diet. So, there's still a long time to continue to pull some body fat away. It's not going to be quite bodybuilding stage condition just yet. That will come next year, is the goal, to compete for the first time. But this time we're just going to get acceptably lean, leaner than most people probably have ever been. That's not a brag, right? That's because I've chosen to do this, and it's kind of half my job. It's not my job because my job is coaching, but it is my job to showcase that and be a leading example to the clients, right? So obviously bodybuilding, which is what I've come to terms with now, and I've got more comfortable saying that that's what I'm doing, because for the longest time I'd always say to my coach, can I even say that I'm bodybuilding? I've not stepped on a stage or anything just yet. Pretentious teapot. I've become a tea guy on this diet, which is something, again, we're going to talk about later, because of the reason why that's happened, I think. But yeah, bodybuilding has given me a lot, not just dieting, but also the routine in your growing phases, or when you're trying to obviously put muscle on. And yeah, this lifestyle and routine, I think, has a lot of positives that I think can go some ways into treating a lot of the issues that people have in the modern day, in a physical sense, in a mental sense, maybe even a little bit in a spiritual sense. Ooh, we're gonna go fucking right deep. I've already ruined it. One take and I've fucking ruined it. Right, stop the clip. Not really. We're gonna leave all parts of this in. So yeah, obviously, face value, if you go through this journey, you're gonna look physically better, which is something that I think a lot of people would appreciate. And it's something that a lot of people these days struggle with. Weight, for one. The modern lifestyle is very much conducive to people that struggle with things like their body fat. They struggle with just how their body functions. We're a lot more sedentary than we were, and this causes a lot of issues for us as we sort of get a little bit older, sort of middle-aged. Even though I see a lot of people even my age, 27 now, fucking hell, pushing 30, we're getting old. But I see a lot of people even my age, or people that I've been to school with, and I already kind of see the light fading in their eyes. They're physically already starting to deal with certain issues, and I think it's a tragedy, to be honest, because it's not necessary. And I think for a lot of people, the modern lifestyle has become so normalized and so accepted that people are struggling with things that they don't realize that there is a solution for. The problem is that the solution requires a lot of hard work, and it requires, as people will say, discipline, right? You have to make the right decisions day to day. It requires initially probably some degree of motivation to begin making those changes before you learn and you get the experience and it becomes easy to follow. So there's a massive cost to it. So I would argue that doing it for vanity's sake and just for how you physically look, for some people that's enough. For me, in the early stages, when a lot of my motivation for training came from a very negative place, e.g. I had a lot of insecurity, I was very unhappy with what I saw in the mirror. It's all of the cliche stuff, right? It's the stuff that people always talk about, and it's quite a common story of, I was really, really skinny, or I was really overweight, so I got into the gym and it solved everything. But I think you need more of a reason than just looks, right? That's really shallow, surface level. And despite what it might look like on social media, when I'm always posting with my kit off, that's what we call social proof. I have to post that, or at least I choose to post that, because that is a demonstration that I know what I'm talking about, and I'm living the lifestyle, right? I'm walking the walk at the same time as I'm talking the talk. So that's kind of something that I have to do in my job as a coach, is to showcase that. Personally, I don't like social media. I don't like short form content. I don't like Instagram. I don't like the general vibe, energy and message most of the time of the fitness community. There are some good aspects to it, but I don't relate with a lot of it, because it is very surface level. There's a lot of ego involved. It's a lot of dick measuring contest, and then this pushes people to do things like take steroids, performance enhancing drugs. This causes people to do dangerous, aggressive diets, right? You could argue that my diet right now has been pretty aggressive, but it's not been, I wouldn't say, in any realm dangerous, right? But yeah, so that can be the initial motivation, and that's the reason most people start. And it's okay if that is your initial reason to start. I just feel that you need more than that as the journey continues, because you'll get into slightly better shape, and it's like, well, what is the end of that pursuit, right? Because you'll reach a certain point where your gains really, really slow down, and yes, you can continue making progress as a natural. I don't think the natty limit really exists. It does in essence. I think once you reach a certain age, or once you reach a certain amount of muscle, there becomes very real physical limitations in the way that your body can use its nutrients to produce muscle. You've only got so many organs, and those organs can only work so well in growing your muscle, right? But I think the natural, where people think there's like a limit, there's a ceiling, it's more of a curve, right? So in the beginning, if you've got on your y-axis, this is your progression, this is progress, and obviously on the x is time, right? In the beginning, you make progress, you move up that y-axis very, very easy in a very short amount of time. As time goes on, it starts to sort of taper off, right? You'll know, for many of you watching, if you train your first couple of years of training, it's great because you go into the gym, you're getting stronger every single week, you're seeing muscle grow every single week. And especially when you diet for the first time, it's like, oh my God, like your body's completely changed, right? When you get a few years in, like me, I've been training now for, I guess it's 8 years, right? The first few years, kind of dicking around. I was very much focused on strength in the beginning. It's only, I suppose, since I had my first coach, which is probably maybe 5 years ago, that I got more into just chasing the physical, the aesthetic, and then cut towards the last few years where I've actually, like, bodybuilding is the goal. I want to step on stage at some point, right? Naturally, as a natural, because I think there's value in that, and we'll get more into that in a minute. But yeah, so it's about 8 years of training towards that, and my progress has definitely slowed down, like, considerably. But it definitely hasn't stopped, and with every training phase, I am seeing progress, so that's still available. And it's one of the promises or the claims that I've made, which is for the foreseeable, I will continue to look better year on year, and that's kind of like a standard that I'm holding myself to, again, as that social proof, so I can show people that I know what I'm doing and what I'm talking about, the same things that I'll show clients progress for the same reason, basically so that people will choose me as their coach one day, hopefully, or at least they'll choose to get some form of help from me, right? That's business, that's marketing, that's necessary. But I would still do this even if nobody saw now, because it has become so ingrained in who I am, my identity as a person that does prioritize this. Now, why do I think that is a good idea? Health and longevity. Again, as I was speaking about in the beginning, a lot of people are struggling with long-term health conditions. They're struggling with just getting around day to day, right? I think not being able to get up and do the things that you want to do on a regular basis, whether that is physically, you just want to go for a run or you want to go and do this. I'm not the best runner, but I can get up and run because I've got that base level of cardiovascular fitness, right? Which is good. But yeah, I think it can be an antidote to a lot of the ailments of today, if done properly. Because a lot of people, again, if you're chasing just a look, but you're not doing that in a healthy way, if you're not doing that most of the year in a sustainable way, a diet, which I'm going to explain in a minute, of going to and trying to get lean, is not particularly sustainable. It's not supposed to be. You do it for a few months of the year and then you get back to growing again, and it kind of goes in cycles. It's like it's seasonal, right? And one of the biggest things I'll talk about is the fact that training isn't seasonal. When I say training isn't seasonal, I mean you shouldn't chase some kind of goal and you shouldn't be training for part of the year and then not at all the rest of the year. When I say training is seasonal, I mean there's different goals at different times. Are you losing body fat right now? Are you trying to grow muscle right now? Are you trying to get stronger right now if you're not particularly bodybuilding based? Are you trying to be more athletic, right? Well, there's always these different pursuits, and that can change over time, and it should, because you can't carry on growing muscle forever, because if you do, you're going to end up very, very large and very, very unhealthy. And you also can't keep dieting forever because you will die. Dieting, die. That's the end. That's the extreme, right? If you keep restricting food and not feeding yourself. And so yeah, those are kind of the first two things, yeah. How you look, which is a nice motivation, and that's where the ego can get involved, but then also your health is like, and your longevity, right? You want to be around for a long time, but you also want to be around for an enjoyable time, right? This is more for people that they reach middle age or they reach a little bit older and they can't climb a flight of stairs without really, really struggling, right? They can't do the basic daily activities that most people take for granted, right? If you look at someone who's lost the ability to use their legs, they would kill to be in the position where they were able to use them again, right? And this is something I remind myself, like every leg day. Every time leg day comes around, and it's hard, it's horrible, it's painful, right? At least I get to do that, because there are people that don't get to do that. So if you can reframe it in that way, all of a sudden leg day, which is a chore, becomes a reward. Maybe I'm just sick. Maybe I'm just sick and demented and psychotic, right? But I think the more we can tackle your training and even your ability to eat healthily with gratitude, positive emotion, as opposed to negative, and I think that's something that a lot of people will notice. And it's something that I've noticed, not just in training, but also in work recently, is that, again, my initial motivation for starting most of these things was negative. Oh, I need more. I need to be more. I don't feel like a competent person. I don't feel like a confident person. You start working your way along that journey, and then you basically get those things, and then motivation can really disappear for a little bit of time. And that's what I noticed after Christmas, because it was probably the first time that I've been comfortable and happy, because I've had financial woes, which I spoke about on here. I had a long bout of pretty severe anxiety. It was health anxiety it was centered on at the time, and like mentally I was in a really, really bad place. Financially was in a really, really bad place. Just there were so many things that needed to be fixed, and that was all coming from a place of pain, fear, uncertainty, anxiety, depression, mildly. I never suffered with it extremely, but mildly. So there will be a point in your journey where and some of you probably will relate to this, that yes, that sort of initial motivation, that chip on your shoulder begins to, some people never get out of it, but I think I've reached a place where that subsided and the motivation was gone. I was left thinking, well, what do I want? Do I want success or happiness? Right, most people think that success brings happiness. No, it doesn't. Not all of the time. It can definitely help. But I kind of had this weird crossroad where I was like, well, do I want to get into a frame of mind where I push myself, burn the candle at both ends to chase this success, right? Or do I accept a slower rate of progress and happiness? Now, I think my thinking was flawed in that, because I think you can do both. I think you can be strongly motivated by positive things. I don't think it has to come from a negative place. And I think I'm living proof of that now, because there's nothing that I'm doing that it comes from a place of lack or a place of need, if that makes sense. And I've been reading a lot recently. People who maybe follow for a little bit longer know that I'm really into like Stoicism. I've also been getting into Zen Buddhism, if you will, right? And now I'm getting, this is pretentious as fuck. I've got a teapot, I'm drinking green tea, I'm talking about philosophy and how deep training is. It's not that deep, bro. But you can make it deep, you can attach meaning, you can romanticize your life, because why wouldn't you? It's so much more enjoyable and you can be so much more present than what you do, right? So forgive a white boy for being pretentious, all right, and follow me down this path, okay? So this is the inner workings of my mind, right? A lot of people probably clicked off by now. Like, this guy is just fucking full of himself. I'm really not. Humility is something that I try and practice whilst I get my kit off, and whilst I talk about how deep and philosophical I am. But again, going back to my point at the start of the video, I'm not special. These are all things that I've learned to do. I'm not the most intelligent person. I'm not the most gifted person. At my core, I'm pretty lazy, but I've learned these things because of this. So, why do I think you should get shredded at least once in your life? For those reasons above. You're going to look better. You're going to be healthier. You're probably going to add some longevity to your life. Maybe not if you push it to get really shredded, but I think if you dip into that and then you come back out, because you're not going to stay shredded year round, and you shouldn't. I don't think it has any long lasting, really negative effects, and it's probably still better than normal. But for me, it is that very thing of attaching a little bit of meaning and purpose, because I think a lot of people these days, like modern society, my take is that a lot of us are constantly distracted through media, TV, phone. For a lot of people, it's such a big issue. They are coping with a lot of things with food, cheap, easy dopamine hits, right? Nicotine, caffeine, pornography, junk food. These are a lot of things that these days it's become so normalized for people to struggle with these things. And I think bodybuilding can be the antidote to that, especially when you get lean and you start dieting. Why? Well, because, and this is something that you see like in a lot of different places. Little camera angle switch coming to you right now. But yeah, if you're gonna diet, you're gonna have to restrict food, and you're gonna have to restrict alcohol, and you're gonna have to basically restrict a lot of the things that you enjoy. And then a lot of people will sometimes replace that with, and I'm guilty of this, like it's like sugar-free sodas, nicotine in the past I was guilty of, and you kind of like cover the problem. But I think it's important to actually feel hunger, feel boredom, and it forces you when you're really dieting, and this is something that I've really noticed in the last 6 weeks, is that it's forced me to be more present in my process, which is, the day-to-day, eating my meals, following my training regime, and ticking those boxes every single week. And being present, not being caught up in thinking about what's coming in the future, not being held down about what's happened to you so far in life, your traumas and everything that's happened to you up until this point. Because in the past, that's depression, right? If you're living in the past and that is, negatively affecting you, that's depression. If you are worried and concerned and, looking towards the future all the time, existing in the future, that's anxiety. If you can collapse that into just today, not even just today, just this next minute, this next hour, this next gym session, then get into bed on time, whatever it is, it forces you to be really, really present in that. And for me, again, these last 6 weeks, it's been the happiest, most peaceful that I've been, right? The problems still exist, and they're not going away anytime soon. They're getting better in a lot of ways, a lot of the things that I have been dealing with. But training and bodybuilding, if I can say that, has been an anchor for me. And this is something I speak about to clients all the time, because when you're trying to chase a result, for a lot of people, things come up that are barriers. Work, relationships, kids, all of these excuses come up, right? And for a lot of people, that's the reason why, or the reason they will give as to why now it's not the right time, or they can't get into shape now. But Ryan Holiday talks about the obstacle being the way, and sometimes the problems that you have right now are the very things that and be very careful when I say this, because there are certain things, right, which I wouldn't wish upon anyone, but it's all perspective, right, and it's all about how you view these things. And again, I think you should try and treat everything. There was one idea I got from, I think it was Matthew McConaughey, which was basically saying that you should treat everything from a default state of humour, right? Don't take life too seriously. We've all heard that before. I think it's both that and also gratitude, right? Because there are a lot of things to be worried about right now, especially with the state of the world, the politics of the world, and especially social media funnels us down these very dark places, right, of algorithms, and then we get radicalized and we start thinking crazy ideas if you're not careful and if you're not aware and if you spend too much time on there. But I think if we can start to make our default perspective, or the thing that we see life through, and treat it from a place of humour, gratitude, joy, love. Bro really just said you used to start bodybuilding and get lean so you can learn to love things. Bodybuilding's gone soft. It's gone fucking soft. But yeah, like, again, forgive me for being whatever this is, pretentious. But yeah, like, if you can view things from that, there is definitely a strong motivation that can be there, and just your general day-to-day experience is better. And I know a thing or two about being neurotic or being in a bad mental space and feeling frustrated because I should have this and this person shouldn't treat me in this way and I deserve better and the world is against me and all these things that have happened, and I'm a victim to my circumstances, and life is just, the world is fucked. And yeah, there's a quote from one of my friends, Ryan. There's no way he's watching this, but if somebody's watching this and knows Ryan, you're gonna get it. And he was really, really drunk one time and he went, "Everyone in the world is fucked." And it's one of our favourite quotes because it's just funny. He just came out of it, everyone in the world is fucked. And yeah, and like, I think a lot of people exist in that headspace. You hear people all the time say stuff like, "Oh, you should rely on motivation over discipline." Sorry, discipline over motivation. No cuts. It's, you know, there is some cuts because I'm moving the camera on. Allow me. People say, just be disciplined, bro. Like, don't be motivated, be disciplined. It's like, well, that's just entirely unhelpful, because you can't just decide to be disciplined. Whenever you're making a decision to change, or you've got that initial, okay, I want to go and change this, that is all motivation. Whenever you get that urge to go, okay, I'm going to be disciplined now, I'm going to fix things, that's motivation. Discipline comes over reps and failures of fucking up over and over and over again. It's like a hard conversation I have with clients in the beginning is that, like, look, even with having me on board as a coach, right, there is still work to do on you. Like, you still need to do your self-work, right, which can help you to do in this process, which comes from basically breaking down what are your current habits, restructuring your life, finding that routine, and you're going to stumble your way through that. Whenever I put a client on like a diet or like a new meal plan, we give them a bit of time to figure things out, because they'll forget to do things, or they won't be organised to that this day, or they won't be organised on that day. And it's no good to just tell them be organised. It's like, focus on the most important variable right now. Let's make sure we've got breakfast and lunch nailed, right? Once that's nailed, then we can start thinking about other things, right? Slowly edging them towards this point where they actually become a disciplined person. That takes time to build that. That doesn't happen like this. It doesn't. There are rare circumstances where something so monumentally fucked has happened to a person that they are then able to just switch into a new lifestyle, or they get like a health scare, and then that's coming from a place of fear, right? true motivation is, yeah, that's the initial catalyst, but then over the years you literally cultivate discipline, right? Because then it becomes, eating well and training, that becomes part of your personality. So yeah, another advantage is the fact that you can be more present and probably be happier. Now, that's hard to do, and doing it in this way is not easy, right? The process of getting into really good shape is one of the hardest things you can do. Bodybuilding, and especially like getting lean, is one of the more extreme sports out there. I wouldn't necessarily say it's extreme, but it's not. We're not playing fucking paddle, are we? We're not playing fucking tennis. Do you know what I mean? So, not to discredit those sports, they're great. Not for me, but if you play tennis, it's not as hardcore, is it? It's not as cool, right? Ego talking, because it doesn't matter, everyone's got different pursuits. Now, yes, it's difficult, but I think the very fact that it's difficult is one of the reasons you should do it, because I think you should push yourself. I think you should see what you're actually capable of doing, because I can tell you for a fact that training was the thing that helped me to stop being a lazy person in the beginning, or someone that didn't value work, right? It helped me with my, not diagnosed, but there's definitely something wrong with me, executive dysfunction, struggling with like managing things, like being organized, my ADHD-esque brain, right? Having routine and structure has been a partial, still struggle with it, antidote to that. And yeah, like doing hard things isn't something that we should shy away from. I was having a conversation with my girlfriend only the other day about, wanting to compete in the future and the difficulties that can come with prep. I'd be probably a little bit less than my best self in those last few weeks of dieting and stuff. And, she obviously asked the very valid question, if you're planning on starting a life with somebody and, living with somebody and becoming that team, that unit, right? Of why would you do that then? What's the point of doing that? Why would you put yourself through something that's difficult, that's going to make you feel pretty bad towards the end? And it's like, well, what's the point of doing anything, right? Challenges, striving for something, goals, purpose, meaning. That's like, once your other needs as a human are taken care of, that can be another thing. And also, I think the price that you pay in the short term, going through that difficulty, that challenge, in the long term, you'll become a more resilient person. You become a person that can do more. You're progressively overloading yourself. You're upgrading your character, which is something I like to talk about, right? We've all played video games, or at least most of my audience probably have, because that's who I am. That's at heart, I'm still a video game nerd. And in real life, you've got the opportunity to upgrade your own RPG character, right? I think that's, again, from perspective, I think that's sick. The fact that I can get bigger, the fact that I can get stronger, the fact that I can look better. It's a game. View it as a game, and it's rewarding if you do the work, right? So yeah, the fact that it's hard is a good reason to do it. And that's something I didn't speak about as well, as like routine and structure, right? People look at someone who's disciplined and routine and structured and sometimes think you lead quite a boring life, but that discipline equals freedom. Jocko Willink spoke about that, because again, it opens doors that were otherwise closed. I always get this conversation, right, with, and it's not a bad thing, but it's like friends sometimes, co-workers, even customers at work, a part-time job. I sort of ask, like, why are you doing that? Like, why would you do that to yourself? Like, you lead such a boring life. And yeah, but I know that in the future, if I keep doing the work, it's going to open doors, right? In coaching, right? Financially, I'll be better off the harder that I work, the better service that I give to my clients, the better shape I'm in, the more people are going to listen to me. But also, it's just anything, it can open so many doors that were otherwise closed, right? So what looks like boring restriction in the short term actually becomes the very key that can open doors in the future, right? And again, like some people say, well, I can drink whenever I want, I can eat junk food whenever I want. Yeah, but maybe on your days off, you spend a lot of time bed rotting because you feel so exhausted, and you feel, maybe you're spending some degree of time hating yourself and beating yourself up, and you're not even really enjoying the life that you're living because it's just become normal. That's something I related to over Christmas, was the fact that I was eating junk food and drinking loads of, alcohol, whatever it is, most nights of the week. And I didn't even enjoy it in the end. It was kind of just what I did to just cope. That's not freedom. Freedom is the ability to feel those emotions and then dictate how I act on my own terms. I get stressed, I don't need to go order Domino's pizza or have a few beers. That's freedom. I can still do that from time to time, not right now. At least I'm choosing not to right now because I want to produce the best result that I can. But then when you can bring those things back in moderation, you begin to appreciate them so much more. Temperance is a Stoic idea. We're getting pretentious again, where you basically moderate things, right? If you're that rat in that science experiment that is just constantly tapping that button, right? I think was it cocaine, or it was some kind of drug that they would give to the rats, and they just keep tapping this button, which would keep giving them hits, right, of dopamine. The rats would end up starving and dying, right? And they became a slave to that dopamine, okay? So consider, is your freedom, or are you just hooked on these vices and hooked on these habits because, like, are you actually a slave to that? And am I a slave to training? Some people would probably have the rights to argue yes. For me, I'm happier this way. Time and time again. I've lived both lifestyles. The problem I think a lot of people have is almost the devil they know. You know that to get into quite like amazing shape, you're going to need to learn a lot of things. You're going to need to give a lot of time, energy and effort to that process. And if you've never done it, you can't know that the payoff is there. If you order Domino's pizza and you buy a 6-pack of beer, you know you're going to have a good time. You know you're going to have a good time. Coaches get frustrated all the time when people spend so much money on everything else but coaching. And they're like, well, you should prioritize this. I come from a place, I understand why. Because you know when you buy a nice new car, you know what you're getting. You know when you order junk food, you know what you're getting. Training is something that you're going to have to muddle around and spend a lot of time fucking up before you get it right. What is it? Putting off like enjoyment today for the long term. What is that? It's going to come back to me probably after I've shot this video. It's going to really frustrate me that I haven't thought about it. Suspended. What is it? Like when the reward comes later. You basically put off fun now so that the reward comes later. But the truth is, from training, you get to a point where the reward is every day. Like I say, right, through this dieting, I'm enjoying basic food again, right? And then if I have a little bit of junk food, when I bring that back in, maybe once, twice a week, we're back up into like a deep of a growing phase. I'm going to really appreciate that. It's not just going to become normal routine. I save so much fucking money. People think bodybuilding, living, healthy is expensive. It's not. It really doesn't have to be. And that's part of my mission with what I do, is to show people that it doesn't have to be. It's the same with my coaching. I don't want to be charging loads of money for coaching because I think this is affordable, and I want to bring that to the masses, at least not even to the masses, but to people that the message resonates with for what it's done for me. I want to do that for other people, right? That's that positive motivation. It's not about look at me, look how great I am. It's about look how this saved me, and potentially if you resonate with it, look what it can do for you. That is the message. That's what I'm trying to put out into the world, right? But yeah. So I think we've covered a lot there. And I think that's why you should challenge yourself to do it at least once. Lock in for 3 months. Right. Have a go. Your first diet, you'll fuck up a lot. I did. Even my last diet last year, I was still having booze probably every week. I was still having junk food every now and again. I was still picking at work from like the fucking chip bowl at the end of the night. But like each time that you do it, you get a little bit better, and that's that discipline that you're building, and you're ingraining that into your identity as well. So yeah, there's a lot of benefit to it. You just have to understand that the benefit is going to come later. But then this is something that will bleed into every other area of your life, because anything worth doing is probably going to be difficult. It's going to take some time, and be patient. And just understand that that initial transitional period is the hardest. Your first few weeks is the hardest. Once you're over that, the first few weeks of this diet, I really struggled saying no to a beer. I really struggled saying no to junk food. Now, I can happily take it or leave it. And because my goals require me to leave it, I leave it. And that's a question to ask yourself as well, is what do your goals want from you? Right, whatever you want to achieve, your goals are going to require X amount of things to change. And you need to try and begin muddling your way towards living up to that standard. And if you can do that over the course of hopefully the rest of your life, because it does become a lifestyle, and it is becoming a new lifestyle, and it's something that you're going to be ingrained in for a very long time, and that's okay, because until you've lived it, do it. Go and get lean once. Go and get lean. Go and build some muscle. Live that. Sit with it. Those emotions, how you feel. Really be present in it. Don't distract yourself all the time. See how that feels, and remember how you used to feel, and compare. There probably does exist some people, as much as I will argue to the end of time that it's better for everyone, there are some people that might actually be happier the other way. And if you are, that's fine. Your prerogative. You continue as you were. But I think once you've seen it, and once you've been lean once, and you've seen the beauty and strength of which your body is capable. Socrates? Was it Socrates? I hope so, because I'm not like an idiot if it's not. And once you've done that, tell me how you feel. Tell me if you want to hold on to a little bit of that for the rest of your life. So that's that. That's the message. If anyone has watched this entire video and watched all the way to the end, please comment the word. What should we comment? Comment the word change. Comment the word change below. If you comment the word change, I'll know you watched the entire thing, and I really appreciate that, and I express gratitude for that. So we're trying to come from a place of gratitude. So yeah, maybe I'm just fucking hungry. Maybe I've just been fucking spouting all this shit because I'm losing my mind to the diet. But no, like, jokes aside, do it. It'll be good for you. You'll feel better, and it will bleed into everywhere else. My work is so much better now. My relationships are so much better now. If you do it right, yeah. Because if, forgive me for a moment to make it bigger than it is, probably, but it's not just about the training. It's not just about the dieting. It's about what happens to you up here as well. And yeah, maybe read a bit of philosophy, man. Get into Stoicism. Start reading a bit into Zen, because that has really helped this time around with being present, moderation, simplicity, leading things a little bit more minimal, and being able to regulate emotions better, which has helped make the right decisions more often. And yeah, being in a more positive frame of mind. Start reading. Reading's good for you as well. Become a tea guy. So everyone can think, what a cunt. What a cunt. It's fucking tea. He's lecturing me on to live his life. Starving himself. Drinking tea out of a fucking fancy teapot. And some people probably will think I'm a cunt. That's okay, man. I still want the best for you. And for everyone. Baba-booey. You've listened to me talk for long enough. Let's end it there.